Sycamore Street in Ashfield, Missouri, was the kind of place where people still borrowed sugar from neighbors. Tree-lined, quiet, and just a few blocks from the elementary school. It was the kind of American suburb where nothing bad ever happened. That is, until second-grade teacher Marianne Holloway stopped showing up for class. Marianne, 38, was beloved in the community, gentle, patient, and known for hand-making classroom decorations. She lived alone, took morning jogs, and had recently returned from a solo hiking trip in Colorado. Her house was neat, modest, and always adorned with seasonal wreaths. She was the type of woman who wrote handwritten thank you notes, even for small favors. So when she missed 3 days of work without calling in, her colleagues assumed she had fallen ill. On the fourth day, her friend and fellow teacher, Emily Tress, drove by her house and noticed something odd. The same Amazon package sitting untouched on the porch, and the mailbox overflowing. Emily knocked. No answer. She called her phone, straight to voicemail. But what really sent chills down her spine was the smell. The faint, sickly sweetness that seeped from the front porch and clung to the late summer heat. Police forced entry into Marianne's home later that afternoon. What they found was worse than anyone expected. The house was warm, unnaturally so. The thermostat had been turned up to 85 degrees. All windows were shut tight, blinds drawn. Inside the bathroom, Marianne was found in the bathtub, her body bloated and pale, eyes wide open. She was fully clothed, her arms floating oddly at her sides. A hairdryer was found near the edge of the tub, plugged into the wall, but its cord had been cut. There were no signs of forced entry, no signs of a struggle, but something wasn't right. Her fingernails were broken, bitten down past the cuticles. Some had been torn off entirely. On the mirror, faint smudge marks, like someone had tried to write something with wet fingers, but stopped. The initial autopsy ruled cause of death as drowning, though the manner remained unclear. Suicide? Unlikely. Accidental? Implausible. Homicide? That would take more time to confirm. Detective Elise Navarro, 14 years on the force, had seen her share of domestic tragedies. But something about this scene felt rehearsed, artificial. The home Wi-Fi router had gone offline at exactly 3:14 a.m. 3 days earlier. The main computer and phone were missing. There was no forced entry, but Marianne's front door had a digital lock, recently installed, and the app used to control it was logged out. But a stroke of luck. Marianne's old iPad was still at the house, tucked away in a desk drawer. It hadn't been used in months, but it was synced to her cloud. A deleted video file, auto-backed up without the killer knowing, was discovered, time-stamped 2:11 a.m., just an hour before the router went dark. The footage was brief, just under a minute. Marianne, visibly shaken, spoke in a whisper. He said he's going to make it look like I did this. But I didn't. I didn't touch him. Then, 3 quiet knocks at the front door. Detective Navarro recognized trauma in Marianne's voice. It wasn't panic. It was resignation. Someone she knew was coming. Someone she didn't believe she could stop. Neighbors mentioned a man who occasionally visited Marianne. Evan Carlisle, mid-20s, polite, intense, a former student of hers, now grown, who had been in and out of mental health facilities. He had been seen jogging with her some mornings. He spoke of her constantly in therapy groups. He claimed they were close. Evan Carlisle had been a troubled child. Severe separation anxiety. Brief violent outbursts. Marianne had been his teacher during a difficult year, one in which his mother passed away. She had been kind to him, encouraging, but to Evan, that kindness rooted itself into something else entirely. He returned to Ashfield at 25, after being discharged from a psychiatric treatment center in Oregon. He reached out to Marianne, who, out of guilt or compassion, agreed to meet him for coffee. That led to another conversation, then morning jogs. Then, unexpected visits. Eventually, she began pulling away, changed her jogging route, stopped answering his texts, told Emily she was creeped out by his sudden possessiveness. She never reported him. Maybe she didn't want to hurt his feelings, or maybe she underestimated how deeply he had anchored himself to her memory. When police tracked Evan down to a motel 30 miles out of town, they found Marianne's phone and laptop in his backpack. Both devices had been wiped. On the walls, printed photos of Marianne, most of them taken without her knowledge. A small notebook, filled with delusional writing, referred to her as my final light and the chosen one. But Evan insisted. She wanted to disappear. I helped her. That's love. What sealed his fate was a fingerprint, his, found on the severed hairdryer cord. Evan Carlisle was arrested and charged with first-degree murder. His defense argued for diminished capacity due to mental illness, but the jury was unconvinced. He was sentenced to life in prison without parole. Marianne's house was left vacant for months. No one wanted to buy it. Some swore they still saw lights flicker on inside. Others claimed to hear water running when the house was empty. Her sister eventually had it demolished. In Ashfield, safety became a myth. Parents began escorting children everywhere. Front doors were double-locked even in broad daylight. And yet, some say what haunts the town isn't the crime itself, but the silence that followed. Emily Tress, in a public memorial for Marianne, said, "She died afraid, but she tried to warn us. We didn't listen in time, and now the silence screams. Because sometimes the monsters don't hide in the woods. They grow quietly in plain sight. They live next door. They jog beside you. They remember kindness like it's a promise. And sometimes they knock." Stay tuned for another demystifying of darkest crimes, where every mystery unravels a darker secret. New videos every week.